How We Got Here. Monday afternoon after 2:30, How We Got Here, John Lee. Today, social media.
That's right. You know, as you mentioned at the show opener, Cyworld is back. Everything is retro now, right?
So that was popular, 2000?
In the 2000s.
2, 3, 4? How far back do we go for Cyworld? I forget.
I'm going to tell you in my little segment called How We Got Here.
Nice. All right, so where do we start then?
Well, here's the thing. You know, of course, iWorld's back, and it's no surprise because, I mean, social media is something that we use. I mean, I would say the vast majority of all of us listening and talking use social media of some sort. Right?
Yeah.
We're kind of tethered together nowadays. We don't never... How am I going to say this? We never not know what our friends are doing or eating for lunch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Pluses and minuses to that, advantages and disadvantages. I think it allows you to keep in touch with what your friends are doing or keep up with what your friends are doing. But yet it doesn't make you contact them as often, I don't think. So not as many phone calls, not as many texts, because you already get the feeling that you know what they're up to. I've had friends tell me, I call and I say, I haven't heard from you in a long time. And they say, oh, I listened to the show, so I feel like I know what's going on with you. I'm like, yeah, but that's one-sided, not both ways.
Yeah,
right?
and unlike most things, there's a positive side and a negative side to social media. And you know, social media, of course, just to define what we're talking about here, is any kind of digital or electronic space, right? Website or app that helps us communicate, keep in touch with people, connect with people.
Sure.
And it's been around for an awful long time. So we're going to start today's How We Got Here with a tiny quiz for you two.
Okay.
An exclusive little quiz.
All right.
No penalty, only hugs. What is the earliest form of social media, the recognized form of social media, and when do you think it was?
The earliest form of social media.
Earliest form.
Talk, tick, talk.
I speculated at the beginning of the show that it would have been Facebook 2005 or 6 or 7. It was one of those years.
All right, your answer is Facebook.
I guess so, but
mid-2000s?
I feel like I'm going to be wrong, but I can't think of anything that came before that.
MySpace
Yeah.
came before.
Those are two very, very good guesses.
Okay.
Extremely good guesses, and you guys are kind of close. Not. The earliest form of social media, recognized form of social media, was the Telegraph Machine.
No way.
Right? And that was in 1844, like 1844년.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
177 years ago.
Well, it's a telegraph machine.
Okay, so when you see an old cowboy film, you see some dude with a big mustache and a little hat. He's like, beep, 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 beep.
Oh, like spies used to communicate with their handlers in the movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this was invented in the 1840s.
Okay.
Right? By a guy named Samuel Morse.
Okay. Oh, the Morse code.
That's right.
Yeah.
There
That's
we
the
go.
guy. He invented the telegraph and the Morse code, which is the language of dots and dashes, you know, that the telegraph machine used.
Oh, so the ones and zeros essentially.
Essentially, exactly, the earliest version of a 1 and 0.
Oh
But
my God.
why is that considered social media, though?
I'm going to tell you in just a bit. It was a really interesting story when I was reading up about it because he developed this telegraph machine and this language of Morse code, and he did a test. He sent a Morse code message in 1844 from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, Maryland,
Okay.
which is about 56 kilometers, a super long distance, right, especially during those days. And he sent a first-of-its-kind message, "What have God wrought?" That was his first social media message, which in today's language is like,
so somber.
like in today's language, it's probably like, you know, what up, dog?
yeah.
Okay.
You can imagine, right?
What have God wrought?
Yeah, but
Nothing, G. What up with you?
it's that crazy, right? That's considered the first social media message.
That's a fun little factoid, actually. That's considered the first message that was ever sent.
It is. Now, if you would like to hear how that might have sounded, our PD has something she wants to play you. Now, I'm a translator of Morse code, so this says, "What up, dog? You free? Holla.
Holla.
Back." So that's an example of Morse code. We've all heard it in movies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Never in real life.
Social media, that's what we're talking about here. And what we learned just before the break is that social media goes way back before MySpace, way back before SciWorld, to the 1840s, I think you said,
That's
John.
right, yeah.
Samuel Morse, the original Mark Zuckerberg.
Doesn't that just blow your mind that was considered early social media?
Yeah.
Exactly. How prominent was it? You said that was from D.C. to Baltimore, Maryland, about 56 kilometers.
Yeah, and of course, back then in the 1800s, I mean, that was a long distance, right?
Right.
But you'd have to have, both parties would have to have the machine, right? It's like the telephone.
And
I
a
guess.
telephone wire that connected the two of them. And of course, those were kind of up.
Yeah.
You know, the infrastructure was just
Right.
starting to happen for that. So, you know, the weirdest thing is like when he messaged that, what have God wrought? He was basically saying, OMG. What does this mean for humanity? Like, is this bad? Do you know what I mean? He was worried that they might get too addicted to technology as opposed to figuring things out with human
He was
effort.
a soothsayer of sorts. In his what hath God wrought, meaning like, what can we do here?
That's exactly it. But he didn't have to worry because it was the 1840s, and these were very specialized contraptions.
Okay.
It's not like every household had one.
Right.
You know, you had to go to a post office or a train station, and they were qualified professionals, trained professionals in the language of Morse code.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually, because I
Right.
was thinking, Samuel Morse was communicating with someone who had one of these in his living room. No, it wouldn't have been the case. It would have been like at the train station, like you said. So you'd have to go to get the message.
Yeah, it's like in those cowboy movies. You know, some guy would walk in, send this message to Washington, D.C.
yeah.
Yes, sir. And big old mustache. Beep, 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 beep. So they were really, you know, super trained and specialized. But this is what I found the most fascinating about this whole story. Over time, these telegraph operators became so good at what they did that they started to play chess with one another via Morse code.
What do you mean?
What?
That's the thing is I don't know how they did it. I mean, imagine playing chess like you had a chessboard on your end and your buddy had a chessboard at the post office
Right.
in his city.
Yeah.
The message like pawn to 8-6.
Yeah,
or something
exactly.
like that, right?
I don't even know what you just said right there.
I
but I'll
don't
believe
even know
you.
what I said either.
So they were totally
Fun.
Yeah, so they were way ahead of their time, right? And so they were
Wow.
becoming nerds. They were so into this technology. And these are just very limited groups of people, right, who work at
Right.
post offices or train stations. So much so that they became really close lifelong friends, some of them. And even one or a couple proposed their love to the other person on the other end.
Oh, that's interesting.
Without ever meeting.
Yeah, right. Because you wouldn't be able to just get from one location to another so simply
my
back in the
gosh.
1840s, right?
Like an early version of online dating,
Kind
basically,
of.
right?
Yeah, right.
So I have no idea if they ever got together or something because it might have been cross country.
Sure.
You know.
So when we get into the 1900s, what changes then?
Well, here's the thing. One more point about this. The reason why this is considered the first social media. There's an article in the Washington Post, and I quoteth. Such was the sense of online camaraderie back then that some operators in remote places preferred to commune with their friends on the wires than with the local people.
Oh, it all
Sound familiar?
Oh, the addiction.
This is
Right.
not just the addiction, but just the
Antisocial behavior.
exactly because you're more comfortable just using the Morse
That's
code
true.
machine
Oh, you're right.
than meeting in person.
That's right. They even had their own acronyms. Like we have LOL, OMG. They had GM, which is good morning. What is SFD, which is stop for dinner,
Okay.
which means they were using it so much
That's
they
like-
go, we need a break.
Yeah, that's like the modern day like BRB. Like
Yeah,
be
yeah,
right,
exactly.
Be right back.
That's exactly it.
Interesting.
Wow.
All right. So what is the military connection?
Well, as we know, the military has created and innovated things that we use every day, right? They've done digital cameras, duct tape, microwave ovens, canned food. So they decided to create this web, this internet of sorts across the U.S. so they could send files back and forth. And this was in the 1960s during the Cold War between the U.S. and Russia. So they wanted to keep their secrets secret, right? And also universities wanted to share information, research information back and forth easily.
Okay.
So an early version of the internet was created. Now that was called ARPANET. or Advanced Research Projects Agency Network. It's got a ring.
Was that all over the United States?
Between universities, certain
Okay.
universities, like
Okay.
Stanford, UCLA, stuff like that. So it worked, right? But it wasn't super advanced because the first thing they tried to type in was the word login to start this whole process.
Oh.
They got through L-O, crash.
Oh,
No.
So millions of dollars, in infrastructure and
everything
stuff,
that had
yeah.
gone into it was just gone.
Yeah, but of course, like all new technologies, they refurbished it. It came back, and basically, it served to be the foundation of the internet that we use today. And the first email was sent back in 1971.
Whoa.
Technically, well, check this out. Who do you think is the first world leader to send an email
1971.
in the 70s?
70s.
Nixon was in the 70s, or was he just late 60s?
Is that your guess? A question?
That was an answer / question.
Here's a hint. This is the best hint that I shall bequeath you.
The Queen.
Queen
That's
of
right.
England.
It was either the Queen or Margaret Thatcher. I don't know.
Margaret Thatcher came later.
Queen Elizabeth II sent an email in
Oh.
1976.
Oh, wow.
First head of state. Now, that's the last person I would have thought to send an email.
She was the first person to not ever send an email.
First head of state.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah, so I would imagine it's like, you, me, tennis court, now.
I was just about to ask, what were the contents of it? Do you
I don't know. I couldn't find it.
Wow, that's fascinating. And here we are today.
Yeah. So the thing is, the internet existed in that sort of educational / military form for a long time. And in the 1990s, everything changed. 1997, there was a website called 6degrees.com.
Never heard of it.
I remember it, but I was never on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But it was based on the whole idea of 6 degrees of separation.
Right,
You know that
right.
concept?
Kevin Bacon's thing.
Yeah, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. And so basically saying that you and somebody else or anywhere in the world, all people are connected, within a group of 6 people or less somehow.
Right.
So that's the foundation of all social media. And 6degrees.com did that in 1997.
Oh.
So then the social media that we know today has diversified a little bit with
Right.
Instagram being so popular.
Yep.
Facebook, I can't get a read on whether Facebook's still popular or not. My teenage niece told me it's for old people.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure.
Basically, right?
Yeah, right. But anyway, we've seen the diversification, that is for sure. All right, we'll leave the first hour there for today. Please do